Okay, today we are talking about the new 2024 Amazon Kindle and the Boox Go 6. Both of these devices are e-ink readers, about 6-inch displays, roughly the same form factor, same weight, same size, but they're totally different devices. So in this video, we're gonna get into the differences between both of these devices, where the similarities kind of line up, and then who each of these devices are for, like what kind of person would want the Kindle over the Boox or the Boox over the Kindle. So let's dive into it. So first up for specs, the Kindle is the same size Kindle as the one from 2022, the Kindle 11. This is still being called the Kindle 11, even though it's the 2024 version. I think that's its full title name, Kindle 11 2024 version. I didn't make these names up. If you purchased a Kindle in the last couple of years, the base model Kindle, it is probably the same exact form factor, USB-C on the bottom, power button, 6-inch high DPI, 300 PPI display, and about a 6-week battery life. 16 gigs of storage, and it's about 158 grams in weight. Now compare that to the Boox, which also makes the Boox Palma, but this is the Go series, a 6-inch display as well. It's slightly smaller than the Kindle, and it weighs a little bit less at 146 grams, but using both of these devices daily now for the last few weeks, it's really an imperceptible like couple of grams difference between the two. The Boox does have both 32 gigabytes of onboard storage plus an SD card slot, so you can add additional storage as well. And in my experience, this thing gets about a week or two of battery life. I probably used it for about a week, maybe reading for about 4-ish hours on it, and I took it out like maybe 50%. So we'll get into why that is. So while both of these devices look very similar, have very similar features on the front end, they are very different. While both have really high quality, crisp DPI displays, and both have backlights, the Kindle does not have a warm backlight. You'd have to upgrade to the Kindle Paperwhite for that. Boox does have a warm light. It was kind of a adventure just finding how to turn some of those things on, and that's going to be a theme with the Boox, is because this is running Android and all these custom skins and stuff, it's just kind of hard to navigate around all the settings to figure out like, are the display settings in the display settings? No, you actually have to swipe down on the top right hand side to actually get to the warm display settings. Stuff like that. Now, the battery life is so vastly different between these two because Amazon's using whatever chip it's using. And when it goes to sleep, it goes into this like really subtle wake state or sleep state that you can push that power button, and within a minute, or not even a minute, within a second, you can be back in the book that you were reading. If you power back on the Boox, because it's Android, you actually have to hold down the power button for a while and then it'll power on. And then once it powers on, it has to go through this like boot sequence again because it's loading up Android behind the scenes. Let's actually see how long this takes. I'm really curious to see how long this takes. I'll flash on the screen however long this boot sequence takes, but it takes way longer to be able to get back into your books and wherever you left off reading. Okay, now we're booted up. Now I still have to tap in my library back into the book that I was reading and load that book back up. It does save your place, so it's not like I'm missing where I was. Not a great experience. Like that just took 20, 30 seconds just to get back into my book from a sleep state, or not even a sleep state. The Boox kind of has this weird thing where if you click the top button, it goes into a sleep state. The default sleep state is about, how many times am I gonna say sleep state in this video? The default sleep time, sleep state, whatever, on the Boox is about 15 minutes. You can extend that a little bit at a cost of battery life, but once it goes past that little sleep state, it is shutting down the entire operating system, and you have to boot it again and go through that 20, 30-second sequence again of getting back into your book, where the Kindle just boots you right back in and it's on to reading. I will say though that the Boox having the power button at the top feels very right compared to the power button on the bottom of the Kindle. I always find it hard to push it when I want to push the power button on the Kindle. When I don't want to push it, I'm sometimes getting inadvertent pushes down there. Finally, what I'll say over the overall sort of like hardware and design decisions here, the Kindle 11 2024 edition, the latest Kindle model as of November of 2024, it feels kind of like the 3G, 3GS iPhone design language. It has these rounded corners, a little bit of a rounded back, and this like display that's sort of inset. I don't know why it reminds me of the iPhone 3G. The Boox reminds me of like the iPhone 4. It's got these like more squared off sides, flat back. Both are an absolute delight to hold, and I can hold these things for hours and read, and they're enjoyable to hold because they're kind of right around that 150 gram weight limit. At least that's a limit for me for just like having this thing disappear and feel like I'm just reading a book. But on design language alone, I don't know if I prefer one or the other. They're both both great designs. The Boox maybe feels a little bit more durable, but we'll see how that holds up. My Kindle 2022 edition held up fine with no case, always throwing that in the bag, throwing it in jacket pockets, and I'm sure the 2024 is gonna hold up very similarly to all that abuse. So I'm not really worried about that, but it's just good to be aware that there are some design language differences between these two. Now that we've talked about the outside and a lot of the form factor stuff, a little bit around battery life, it's important to talk about just how different these devices are as far as software goes and ease of use. I'm just gonna say this right now. If you've never owned an e-reader device or some type of like e-ink tablet, the Kindle's the one to go with, especially if you just wanna read books, buy books, say like on Amazon, or if you have an Audible account and you wanna listen to ebooks on like something that's not your phone, this is the device to do it with. It's just way easier to buy something on your laptop or wherever and just have that book automatically synchronized to your Kindle versus something like the Onyx Boox Go 6. I mean, these names are just, it is running Android. So you are gonna have to kind of tinker with it and get it to act the way that you want it to act. For me, a big thing that I wanted to try with this was getting RSS feeds up and running on here, being able to read Substack posts on here, hopefully finding a way to like more easily send things like PDFs to read on something like this. Both of these devices you can send like EPUB files to and PDFs to, and they will have a service that syncs them back down to the devices. But the nice thing about the Boox is it has like Dropbox and Google Drive integration, so you can hook up those accounts to this tablet and automatically get access to those files in your Google Drive or Dropbox. One of the annoying things though about the Boox is if you're like me and you just like transferring and syncing over your books or EPUB files, whatever, from your computer, if you got books from like Gutenberg or standard ebooks, doing that with the Boox is a little bit more tricky because you have to have the Android file transfer software if you're coming on a Mac. I think if you're on a PC, this should still mount fine for you. You should just be able to move things over in the File Explorer. But on a Mac, you do need to have that Android file transfer program application. And it is a little more clunky and it feels like the transfers are a little bit slower. It's not a great experience. I wish there was like a dedicated app to transfer this stuff, or that this could just mount to a Mac operating system computer. Whereas the Kindle will just connect to your Mac and mount like a normal file system, and you could just drop books on it and it just works. It's kind of nice. So in my experience, it's been really fun to tinker with the Boox, get things like Substack posts on here, or Substack feeds, RSS feeds in general on this device, being able to have my Google Drive hooked up to this, especially when I'm like reading a Google Doc that I want to read and maybe comment on later, but I just want to like read through it, not being connected to a computer. That's what the Boox does really well. The Kindle though is still my go-to device for reading anything that's in my library, both in Kindle and Audible, but also all the stuff that I've downloaded from like Gutenberg and standard ebooks and like any other PDFs or things that I've bought over the years. It is just a simpler system that allows you to sleep, wake, get back into your book or whatever you're reading really quickly, and the battery life you just can't beat. So let's finally talk about the price, because the Kindle at its cheapest is about $109 US. That is with the ad-supported version. I personally don't think you should get that. Get the non-ad supported version. It's $129, I think. And with free Prime shipping, you're not paying for shipping and tax, depending on where you're at, you're probably somewhere around $130 something US for this particular tablet. The Boox, on the other hand, starts at $149. Now you do get that warm backlight. You do also get a little bit more storage, but shipping on this was $20. It was the only option I have. I live in the American Pacific Northwest, around like the Washington, Oregon, Idaho area. I don't know if you could get this cheaper shipped to you if you're in like a major city center like New York or around like the California major city center areas, but this plus tax and shipping ended up being closer to about $179, almost $180 US. And when comparing sort of the cheapest that you could get the new Kindle at for about $109 plus tax, maybe you're at like $115 versus like $180. These two devices are almost not in the same price category when you think about like the Kindle Paperwhite at its most expensive is right around $179. And again, if you have Prime on that, then you could get a Kindle Paperwhite, which has a lot of the same hardware features that you would want to have with the Boox in a more premium type device. Plus you would have like the IP water rating and dust ratings, which the base model Kindle does not have. But that is something to think about if price is one of your concerns in purchasing a new e-ink reader, e-reader tablet. Lastly, I gotta say this about the Boox. Because it is running Android, and it's running Android 11, which is now a version of Android which isn't going to see any more updates. I wonder how long this device is going to be a viable device for accessing things like the Kindle store on the Google Play Store, using any other apps that are on this device that aren't the built-in library. Because once that version of Android goes into sort of that like unsupported model, Amazon decides to pull the Kindle app from some of these older devices, I guess, or no longer supports them, that could be a huge hit to the books if it doesn't get an Android update and Amazon pulls, say, their Kindle app or their Audible app from this version of Android, which is not an awesome feeling when you think about spending $150 to $180 on a device and just not knowing how much longer it's going to be supported, both from a security standpoint, but also just from being able to get your content on it. Now, with the Kindle, what I love to see, better RSS support, maybe a few little apps, something like weather, and just these things that could work on this device. Yes, I just wish there was a Substack app on the Kindle to be able to like leave comments and likes on people's stuff while you're reading. So both of these devices have their faults, they have their flaws, they have their advantages and the things that I think make them worthwhile. I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I bought both these devices outright. Neither of these companies have paid me to make this review. So this has just been my experience spending my own money on these devices, trying them out for a few weeks in the way that I would want to use an e-ink tablet reader. I don't know, what do we call these devices? E-readers, I guess? Sure. Again, I'll just say this. I think for most people, the Kindle 2024 edition is the one to get. If you want to tinker with more stuff or you really care about having things like RSS, Substack, and other data sources available to you to be able to read on device, definitely go check out the Boox. I think it's one of the better products in this category, but again, you are paying for it as well. Now, let me know in the comments down below if this is going to be your first e-reader that you're purchasing or if you're looking to upgrade from an existing e-reader, and let us know down in the comments below what it is exactly you enjoy doing with your e-reader. Is it just reading books and that's all you need to do? Or are you more interested in having things like RSS feeds and maybe something like Substack and other types of services be available on your e-reader? Let me know down in the comments below. With that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel, and if you haven't yet, please do so. Like I said, this video was not sponsored by any particular brand or anything. This video has no sponsor. You are the sponsor. So everyone who has subscribed to this channel, thank you so much. You guys help make these videos possible. Be kind both in life and in the comments below, and like this video to send good vibes across the internet. We'll do it again soon. Later.